Imagine no longer being tied down to your computer, but having the freedom to take live talk radio with you anywhere you go. TalkStream Live introduces our first ever iPhone application. The talk shows you follow now follow you, and your iPhone is now the fastest and easiest way to stay connected to the best talk radio on the internet. Listen to live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Mobile talk radio from TalkStream Live. Now available in the iTunes App Store.
Hey, welcome back to Paranormally Speaking. I'm your host, Neil Parks. The show where we pull back the veil on the unexplained, the uncanny, and downright terrifying. This episode is one of the most infamous cases in UFO history, an incident that has been dividing skeptics and believers for nearly 5 decades. It's the story that inspired one of the most unnerving alien abduction films ever made. This is Fire in the Sky, the Travis Walton Abduction. The night of the incident. Our story begins on the evening of November 5th, 1975, in the dense, chilly forests of Arizona's Apache Sitgreaves National Forest. A 7-man logging crew had just wrapped up a long day cutting trees. Mike Rogers, the crew boss, was behind the wheel of the old pickup with Travis Walton and 5 other men crammed inside. It was dark, and the only sound was the steady hum of the truck engine as they bumped along the forest road. And then they saw it. Hovering just above, a clearing ahead of them, was a large glowing object. It was brilliant, and over otherworldly light hanging silently in the air, unlike anything they had ever seen before. Mike slowed the truck to a crawl. The men sat frozen, staring. And when Travis Walton, 23 years old, curious, maybe a little reckless, did something that would forever change his life. He jumped out of the truck, and Travis walked toward the object, transfixed. The light seemed to pulse as he got closer. The other men shouted for him to get back in the truck, but before he could, a powerful beam of light shot out from the craft, striking him in the chest. Travis was lifted into the air and thrown back like a rag doll. The crew panicked and did what most of us would do in a moment of unfiltered terror. They fled. Now the disappearance. When the men eventually found the courage to return, Travis was gone. No body, no blood, just an empty clearing beneath a dark Arizona sky. They raced back to town and contacted the police, who listened with a mix of skepticism and dread. The next morning, search parties were sent into the woods for 5 long days, and there was no trace of Travis Walton. Rumors began to spread. People whispered that the crew must have killed Travis during a fight, and they made up a wild UFO story to cover it up. The tension was so thick, it could be cut with a knife. But then, just as mysteriously as Travis had vanished, Travis reappeared. Travis was found dazed and disoriented near a gas station. He was a weak, dehydrated, and emotionally shattered mess. His story, chilling.
Roswell, UFOs, flying saucers, alien abduction. Are we alone? Information regarding this and many other questions about the unknown are only a click away at www.theufostore.com. TheUFOstore.com offers hundreds of DVDs about UFOs, aliens, crop circles, conspiracies, Bigfoot, suppressed science, ancient mysteries. Log on to www.theufostore.com and request a free UFO Store catalog. TheUFostore.com, the largest selection of UFO products on the internet.
How was his story chilling, you may ask? He claimed that after being struck by the beam of light, he woke up on a table inside a strange and sterile room. Hovering over him were small, hairless beings with huge eyes, creatures that would later become the standard gray alien image in pop culture. Terrified, Travis tried to fight them off. Now, fighting them off obviously did not help. Trying to fight them off and escaping, eventually into another section of the craft where he encountered tall humanoid figures who placed a strange mask over his face. After that, everything went black. He remembered nothing else until he woke up by the roadside 5 days later. Polygraph skeptics and the movie that followed. The authorities didn't know what to do with the story, so they turned to science, or at least polygraph machines. One by one, Travis's fellow crew members were strapped in and interrogated. They were asked if they had harmed Travis, if they had made the story up, if there was any conspiracy among them. One man's test came back as inconclusive, but the rest of the crew passed, indicating they were telling the truth as they believed it. Years later, Travis himself and others would take additional polygraph tests, passing again and further cementing the case as one of the most compelling abduction stories on record. In 1978, Travis released a book called The Walton Experience, detailing his entire ordeal. And in 1993, Hollywood brought the story to the big screen with the movie Fire in the Sky. The film is infamous for its abduction scene, a nightmarish sequence of medical experiments that many say is one of the most terrifying alien abduction scenes ever put to film. Interestingly, even Travis himself has said the movie took some liberties with the details, making the experience more frightening and cinematic than what he described or what he can remember. But the emotional core of the story remained. The terror of the event, the ridicule from disbelieving public, and the lifelong trauma it has left behind. Today, the Travis Walton case continues to divide opinion. Skeptics claim it was a hoax, a story concocted to make money, or to cover up something darker that happened that night between the men. But believers point to the consistency of the crew's testimony over the decades, the past polygraph tests, and the fact that none of the men ever changed their story, even under extreme scrutiny. Whether you see it as one of the best documented abduction cases in history, or just a strange chapter in the folklore of the American West, one thing is completely undeniable. The Fire in the Sky incident left a permanent mark on UFO lore, pop culture, and the lives of those 7 men who were just trying to make a living cutting down trees. So what do you think? Did Travis Walton really spend 5 days aboard an alien spacecraft, enduring experiments that would haunt him for the rest of his life? Or was this a case of shared panic, a hoax that grew too big to back away from at that point in time? Whatever the truth may be about that incident, the mystery of that night in 1975 still burns bright, just like Fire in the Sky. Ghosts, aliens, UFOs, Bigfoot, parallel universes, angels and demons, time travel, cryptozoology, and so much more within the realm of the unexplained, the strange, and the out of this world. I'm your host, Neil Parks, award-winning author, screenwriter, researcher, and paranormal professional. Join me every week as I tackle hot-button topics within the paranormal realm. I'll share personal accounts, my research, and secondhand evidence. I will read excerpts and stories from my books and discuss my upcoming projects in the literary world. Documentaries, both on TV and the big screen, plus my independent film projects. Paranormally Speaking is both thought-provoking and entertaining. New episodes drop every Thursday. Tune in to Paranormally Speaking and prepare to be enlightened. Now, it probably goes without saying, there's always been a lot of confusion about what exactly would be considered an alien abduction. Alien abductions refer to claims of people being kidnapped by extraterrestrial beings for study or experimentation, a phenomenon that is not widely supported by scientists due to a lack of evidence, but is often explained psychologically as false memories or sleep paralysis. While some individuals believe abductions are a literal occurrence, many mainstream scientists and psychologists attribute the experience to psychological and neurological factors induced by culture and individual experiences. However, the emotional impact of those who report these experiences is very real, with psychological reactions similar to those found in trauma victims. What exactly is an alien abduction? Definition of that: people who report being kidnapped by extraterrestrials beings are often called abductees or experiencers. Now, the reported accounts often include being subjected to physical or psychological experimentation and experiencing periods of missing time. Proponents believe in that of the phenomenon argue that the similarities in abduction stories from different people are evidence of a real objective occurrence. Now, lack of evidence in the mainstream scientific realm rejects the idea of alien abductions occurring literally, as there is no credible physical evidence to support these claims. Another thing is false memories. Many abduction accounts are understood as false memories, which can be triggered by therapy, hypnosis, or media. And then there's sleep phenomena. Some abduction experiences include sensations of being paralyzed, feeling terror, or seeing intruders are linked to sleep paralysis, a common neurological event where the mind is awake but the body is temporarily unable to move. And then there's the cultural influence. The details of abduction narratives can be influenced by cultural narratives and the media shaping how people interpret their experience. The emotional reality of the experience. Real fear and trauma, regardless of the cause, the fear and emotional distress of experienced by abductees is very real. Physical reactions, such as research showing that people recounting alien abduction experiences exhibit psychological stress, responses similar to those of individuals recalling traumatic events such as combat or sexual abuse. Mental health. Some individuals who report alien abductions may suffer from existing psychological disorders or trauma, while others have no underlying psychological problems but still experience significant emotional consequences as a result of a supposed alien abduction. Now, some may wonder what would be considered the most famous alien abduction case. That would have to be the Betty and Barney Hill abduction of 1961. It is widely considered the most famous and influential alien abduction, establishing the classic narrative of alien encounters and influencing subsequent reports and popular culture. Other well-known cases include Travis Walton's abduction in 1975, which I've been covering, inspired the film Fire in the Sky, and the Linda Napolitanto abduction in 1981, which I brought up several episodes back. That highly publicized incident in the middle of Manhattan. Now, that would be enough to convince the 20 or so people that witnessed her floating in the sky over Manhattan that the alien abduction phenomena is not just mass hysteria. So here's why the Betty and Barney Hill case in 1961 has been considered the most famous alien abduction case. While driving home, an interracial couple noticed a light in the sky, which they later identified as a flying saucer. They lost time and woke up about 35 miles away with vague memories. Hypnotic regression. While under hypnosis, they recalled being taken aboard the craft by gray aliens and underground medical tests they were undergoing. The significance of their story is detailed in the 1965 book, The Interrupted Journey, and later a TV movie that was first widely publicized and credible alien abduction report, setting the template for many future cases. The lasting impact of their experience inspired the Zeta Reticuli incident theory, where Betty Hill claimed to have seen a star map. Travis Walton's abduction in 1975, the Linda Napolitanto abduction of 1989, both cases along with the Betty and Barney Hill case. Witness accounts, the shared detail and consistency of these events reported by witnesses, even under polygraph tests. The stories were adapted into books and films, bringing them into mainstream pop culture, which shows like The X-Files borrow from those encounters and continue to spin new stories based on personal encounters. The subjects of these abductions under hypnosis revealed detailed accounts of their experiences, which fueled public interest. Now I'm going to take it a step further, do what I call a deep dive. The first documented alien, or precisely UFO sighting, is often cited as the event recorded by John Winthrop in his journal in March of 1639, where he described a great light in the night witnessed by credible persons over Boston's Muddy River. However, records of unusual aerial phenomena date back much, much further, including descriptions of ships and crew seen in the air in the Old Testament, also in ancient Irish annals from the 8th to the 17th centuries, and an account of a moonboat in the 4th century Chinese tomes. The Irish annals of the 8th to 17th centuries, multiple Irish annals mention ships with their crews were seen in the air. Ancient Chinese tomes of the 4th century, some accounts mention a moonboat hovering over China every 12 years. Nuremberg broadsheet of 1566, a broadsheet recorded hundreds of spherical objects moving erratically overhead. Early American sighting, as I mentioned in March of 1639, John Winthrop, governor of the Massachusetts Bay Colony, recorded the sighting of a great light in the night over the Muddy River of Boston. It's considered one of the first widely known U.S. UFO accounts, with the witnesses reporting peculiar movements, and the object seemed to be 3 yards square when still. July 22nd of 1808, a Massachusetts woman named Cynthia Everett documented a light in her diary that darted quickly through the atmosphere, descending and ascending, leading her to believe it was not a meteor. January 25th, 1878, a local farmer named John Martin reported seeing a large, dark, circular object flying at a high speed and described it in a newspaper article. And there are so many more stories like this. If you do your own deep dive, if you peruse the Old Testament and look for stories of Elijah, Ezekiel, and Elisha, and what their detailed stories show of men in strange garb coming down from a chariot of fire in the sky, landing and communicating with these men who wrote these stories that are in the Old Testament. All you have to do is look.
Roswell, UFOs, flying saucers, alien abduction. Are we alone? Information regarding this and many other questions about the unknown are only a click away at www.theufostore.com. Theufostore.com offers hundreds of DVDs about UFOs, aliens, crop circles, conspiracies, Bigfoot, suppressed science, ancient mysteries. Log on to www.theufostore.com and request a free UFO Store catalog. Theufostore.com, the largest selection of UFO products on the internet.
And that brings us to the end of this week's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Join me next week for more fun, freaky, crazy, otherworldly, out of this world, unexplained, and supernatural phenomena, topics of discussion, hot button topics, you name it. Please feel free to email me at parksparanormal@gmail.com. That's parksparanormal@gmail.com. with any suggestions, complaints, ideas, or your own stories that you would like to share. I'd be happy to share your story on my podcast. We are closing the end of Season 7. It is now October. 1 month left until we go on hiatus until the new year and new season. In 2026, Season 8 will begin. I've been doing it for a long time, and I thank you so much for tuning in every week and providing an audience for me. Have a great rest of the week and a terrific weekend. Thank you so much for listening. This is Neil Parks signing off.